Riders fans, how the heck are you? Sorry, it's 12:03. I'm 3 minutes late, and I had to drain the main vein, so it happened. And then honestly, if I'm being candid, the toilet started acting real weird. I need to plunge that shit, and I just don't have time for it right now. So the show must go on. And before I begin, I gotta say, hey, I sure as hell appreciate every single one of you that comment. I try to get back with everyone that have joined the channel, the Patreons, because we're giving away good stuff and have decided to subscribe. There's been a good bump in subscribers, almost like I'm not becoming a guilty pleasure anymore. More people are like, you know what? This Hopper guy might be wrong most of the time, but hell, he's kind of funny, and I like motorcycles, so hell, I'll tag that like button and subscribe. So, today, we're talking about Forkner's injury, the tracks, what happened in Oakland, and then about some of the riders moving to the arena cross. And the Kick Arena Cross actually got sold. I knew the owner a little bit, and he decided to walk away, and I believe the guys that were doing the Arena Cross series to begin with, the AMSOIL stuff ended up taking over the Kicker, and they're revitalizing it, making the tracks a little bit better. And so with that being said, and I guess since we're here on lunch, I gotta tell you, hey, tomorrow at noon Pacific time, in here in about an hour tomorrow, we've got our live show planned. Yes, the race has been canceled, but we're still going to bench race and talk about it and argue with each other, and things will be said that we can't take back. It's unfiltered, so you guys check that out. We've got some good guests planned, and there's been lots of stuff that's happened. But what do we want to start with? Let's start with Forkner's whole deal. So Austin Forkner, the dude, in this little interview, he sounds super distraught. It sounds awful just listening to him. And racing is so mental, and that there's a saying, I don't necessarily know if it's a saying, but if your attitude is a certain way, sometimes you just have negativity that happens. And I know this guy has been positive and has done so much, and he's really been the dude that I wanted to see beat Jet. And if I'm being honest, it's super unfortunate that the bad luck that he keeps having. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean shit's going to be easy for you. I like you probably guys know, I read a lot of philosophy and science and all sorts of stuff. Doesn't mean I completely understand it. However, I try to implement as much as I can. And because I'm live here and I love stories, right? Let me share a story with you. It's got nothing to do with really motocross, but it does. And let me tell you. So the story goes, just because you're a good person doesn't mean that life is going to be easy for you. Things aren't going to be handed it to you. Just because you're talented doesn't mean that things are just going to unfold, right? So the point of this story is, why even bother being a good person? And I'm digressing, so get right into the story. It is about a little boy that is trying to fish for his family, and he sees an alligator that's stuck in a fishing trap, fishing line, and the alligator says, "Hey boy, I need you to save me. Can you please save me?" And he's like, F no, I'm not going to save you. You're going to eat me. And he's like, "No, I won't. Let's make a deal. If you save me, I won't eat you." And being kind and nice, the little boy goes, "All right, sure, let's give it a try." And he cuts the alligator out. Well, as soon as he does, that alligator just chomps right onto the kid's leg. It's like, "I'm eating you." And the kid goes, "What the F, man? You said you weren't going to do this." And he's like, "Well, life isn't fair. Life is not fair." And the kid goes, sorry, I had to switch screens here because I only have one person here. The kid goes, "Before you eat me, can we ask somebody else to see if this is fair?" And so a bird flies by and is perched on a tree, and he's like, "Hey, can you tell the alligator that this isn't fair?" And the bird goes, "Dude, I just came from my nest this morning, and a bunch of fox just ate all my babies. Life is not fair." And alligator goes, fine. See, I'm eating you. I'm eating you. And he's like, no. Hold on. Let me ask one more person, one more animal. And the alligator goes, okay, fine. Since you saved me, I guess, we'll do it. I already have you in my mouth. Like, why not? And so a rabbit comes by, and the kid says, hey, rabbit, can you please tell the freaking alligator this is so unfair? And the alligator says that, hey, this is pointless. And the rabbit goes on to say, hey, alligator, I can't hear you because your mouth is full. So the alligator lets go of the boy, and the rabbit in return goes, run, get the F out of there, run. The kid gets away. He goes back to his village, tells him what happens. They get all hot and bothered, and they go back to the fishing pond, and they kill the alligator. Well, in the midst of all this, the little boy had his dog with him, and the dog saw a rabbit and ran off. The little boy goes, oh my God, no, that rabbit saved me. So he goes chasing after his dog, and finally, he finds his dog, and he's got a rabbit in his mouth, and he's all shaking it like this, and it's a limp body. His dog killed the rabbit. And so the moral of the story is, just because you're good or talented or anything doesn't mean things are going to be easy for you, but it's all mental attitude. Because if you can have a good mental attitude, you're at least going to be fulfilled and happy and enlightened during life. And I'm bringing this back to Forkner for the reason with, man, I get that he's upset and he's kind of at the end of his rope. Well, he just needs to tie a knot and just freaking hang on, because what he is going through is going to help him more in life. He's in his 20s. He's got a lot of life to live. And these are experiences that he can build off of and really see what he's made of. Yes, he's had all these trials that he keeps going through. I kind of have been nicknaming him the Canard of the 250 class, because Canard, pretty much had his shit tossed as soon as he turned 450. That's a dude that probably should have won championships. He was fast enough to do it. He's talented enough to do it. Sure, we know he's one of the nicest dudes out there. But life after racing, I'm pretty sure Canard is doing just fine because of his life experiences. He decided to help build him up and not take him down. Martin Luther King says that becoming a man is more so about the freaking A. I'm messing up the quote here, but in times of convenience and adversity is the times when you should really knuckle down. That's what's going to create a man. And that's really what Martin Luther King got a huge following for doing that. And getting back to Forkner, what actually ended up happening with Forkner is he broke his tib-fib plateau. It's on the top of his ankle. Or not, it's not on his ankle, but it's like right around the knee in the middle there where the two bones break. And he tore his ACL, and he also tore his MCL, his PCL, his meniscus. So everything in there. The tib-fib plateau fracture is going to be okay because he'll just get some stuff in there if it's super bad. But the ACL and that stuff is going to be 6 months, and so it'll be into motocross for something for him to continue to finish well, right? And really, he could be healthy for sort of the end of motocross, and he could still qualify for the playoff races and be good to go. And wouldn't it be the biggest FU for Forkner to come back in the 250 class and put the finger to everybody and win the championship, win, $500,000 with that final, with that race in the LA Coliseum? That just looks dope as hell. This track, can I zoom in here and make it look a little bit better? Jesus. Windows 11. Damn you. But this looks like the coolest track where you're going back up and then jumping back down. This is like an MX versus ATV track map, which I really like. And this is the coolest of all of the tracks. And I guess since we're going into this, the other two playoff rounds have been released. And let's go to the Charlotte round. This guy looks incredibly fast, and these are all just like Daytona 2.0 tracks where I feel for you're trying to mix motocross and supercross together. Motocross is natural terrain. And there's really not much natural about this except for just more Vegas-y type stuff where you're going outside the stadium and you come back here, there's some singles and and then you get back in here. There's no big whoop section, which makes it not near a supercrossy because whoops make supercrossy. Here's like a scrub jump. That's sort of cool, but I feel like that stuff should probably be more in the back of the moto section. This one I'm not as hyped about as, say, the actual finale. The finale here looks incredibly sick, right? Looking at some of the comments here, you guys are saying good perspective. You know, you guys are all saying, how you doing? And in the dirt is right. Yeah, Dog Lover 136, I hear ya. I am getting to it. You know, oh, Muffet says Forkner was the rabbit. Maybe. And yes, Andrew Cook, California did cancel a race. We'll get into it. I guess I could jump around, but no. Shit, fine. We will jump around. So, what is the reason as to why Oakland got canceled in California? You could easily say that, guys, again, this is a little bit of my perspective and some of, the way I am today is because of the parents that I had, and my dad was a complete hard ass. Love him to death. It was a different time in the 70s, right? I don't understand our cancel culture that we're going through today. I'm in my 30s, but what I see kids in their 20s doing, and, it's not going well, right? Again, there's that saying that strong men create good times, and good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times. And right now, we're at a recession. Things aren't really going that well. We piss and moan about a lot of stuff. Yes, you guys are probably going, well, Johnny, it would help if you stopped pissing and moaning. Okay, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I tend to be a little negative in some areas. I've been working on myself. Trying to be a little bit more positive, have that smile going, And however, we all know part of my channel has been built about kind of being the squeaky wheel and poking and prodding at the bigger guys for change. Because as soon as you notice that there is something wrong, well, you have an opportunity to fix it, okay? And yes, California, of any state in the United States, we all know that it is a giant shit show over there. And this is, in my opinion, got much more to do about money than it has to do about public safety or any of that stuff. I know Steve Mathis says that he really thinks it's a public safety issue. I get it. Nobody wants to get hurt. However, if somebody does get hurt, what happens? Well, you have to have lawyers involved and you get sued. You spend more money, right? At the end of the day, a business is built on how many numbers, how many tickets can you sell, how many of this stuff, and what is the level of service that you can provide bare minimum so that you have a gap there, and that gap is you can take home. It is a gross profit in there. And that's the reason as to why I believe that round 2 has been canceled. Yes, there's lots of issues here where tracks are built with dirt that stays in a container, warehouse, whatever, on site for Monster Jam, rodeos, everything that the stadium is going to use. That dirt is there. It's very rare that they bring in dirt. Could they have brought in dry dirt to build a track with? They could have, but that's going to cost more money, right? There's ways you could have done this as opposed to just throw your hands in the air and go, hey, we can't build the track because it's wet. If they're willing to put all this chemicals in the dirt, like they did in San Diego, I talked about in a previous video, to just destroy motorcycles, to make sure that it happened, they could easily get more dirt in there, but it's more about money. And all the teams, and I'm sure the guys, they were going to boycott the race a little bit because they know, hey, we don't trust Feld and them to potentially put something in the dirt that could ruin our $20,000 to $100,000 motorcycle. And so we're not going to play ball. Early on, I don't believe that they've ever used that kind of stuff before. And maybe they did, but because of social media, it didn't become a problem. You could easily hide it under the rug because it didn't get noticed. And I'm kind of foreshadowing here and having a little bit of a conspiracy. Like, let's just say at some of the other mud races way back when, appreciate Shotgun Brown, man. That's a good name. That's a good name. Appreciate the sub, my friend. Hope you're having a good day. But the conspiracy goes, what if Feld and AMA were in cahoots with some of the big magazines, and that's how we got our information? Motocross Action, Racer X, you name it. And if they did put lime in the dirt when we had previous mud races, I'm talking 10 years ago, 20 years ago, were they told, hey, don't let this information get out? But now that everybody has one of these damn things, a cell phone, and can make a voice on Twitter or whatever, they can make a big issue out of it. So now it's changed because we're living in an era of that cancel culture, and, you know, negative press doesn't help. Again, I'm kind of the firm believer that really negative press is not that bad because you get people talking. And maybe that's just my own perspective on things. But if you're bringing up a bunch of negative issues, yes, if you do it too much, it can be bad. But you're also being different. It's that whole marketing strategy of being a purple cow. You know, don't conform, because everybody can do something similar, and a lot of stuff do similar things. But how do you differentiate yourself? Because we're all pretty much given the same circumstances sometimes when it comes to what's in front of us. So they can't have PR, bad PR, and they can't pay for everybody's motorcycle to get destroyed, right? And that third is kind of the public safety thing, you know, but more so than that public safety is who's going to sue you, and are you even going to sell any tickets? Because if there's flooding around, people aren't going to go. They're going to stay inside, at least the smart people. But there's always going to be that one person that decides to go outside to see the tsunami and take photos and then end up, oh, shit, I can't swim. You know, there's always going to be that person. There's a reason why there's Darwin's Law. But, you know, we live in a world where population... Here's a funny statistic. Over the last couple hundred years, from 1800 to 1900, our population went from literally 700 million to 1.4 billion come the 1900s. Now, from the 1900s, we've gone from 1.4 billion to almost 7.5 to 8. That is a huge jump, right? And statistically, you could say there's a lot of dumbasses in the world, and that number's probably not going up, but the population is going up. So then you got way more assholes hanging around just because there's that much more dumb people. It's not that something abnormal happened. It's just that the population got bigger. So if you just have 2% of the population being dumbasses, well, if you have a bigger number, that 2% is a lot bigger. It's the compounding effect, right? 2% of... Anyway, I don't need to give analogies on the subject. But what's going to happen in the next 100 years when we have 15 billion people around and way more dumbasses that you got to kind of protect yourself against? That's really the reason why I think this. And as a track builder myself, because I've built a couple motocross tracks, couple supercross tracks, you know, I've spent thousands of hours inside of heavy equipment learning myself, screwing shit up, and I've found out, like, it's hard to build good dirt. It's hard to build good jumps with shitty dirt, whether it's just completely dry or if it's way too wet, nothing will pack. And the other issue is probably that there in Oakland, all that dirt was just being rained on constantly, so it was hard to pack and make happen, right? So there's multiple scenarios that are involved with that deal, but ultimately, I am going to say that it comes down to money. And Feld and them do not want to lose money, right? Simple, simple, simple. And postpone for ticket sales, money hungry. I'm sure they're going to do all sorts of stuff. Like there's a scenario. I'm just reading some of your guys' comments here that you're saying that some of the tickets have been postponed, lack of kind of refunds. Johnny, Forkner was wearing knee braces when he crashed. If so. Oh, Rick says, hey, do I know if Forkner's wearing knee braces? I would assume he's wearing knee braces. Most of those guys wear knee braces, and that could have helped him from breaking potentially his femur. But yeah, dude, knee braces is a tough subject, right? It's like the whole neck brace scenario. If you're scared, you kind of want more equipment. I've gone through that too, where I'm like, hey, more equipment, better off. I don't want to break my neck, but then, I'm limiting my mobility here. I don't wear a neck brace anymore, but I've also slowed the F down. And I have worn knee braces, not worn knee braces. I've torn my ACLs and my MCLs and my PCLs with and without. I've had 4 ACL surgeries, and ironically, the majority of them that have happened have been with knee braces, but I have done it without as well. And, I think sometimes my knee braces have hurt me more with, gosh, I guess if I'm being sincerely honest about knee braces and just thinking in my head about what's happened to me, it's hard to tell because you don't have a control with like, hey, I'm going to crash this way without it, and then I'm going to crash this way exactly the same, and we'll see what happens with or without. Even if you were able to have something like that, nobody would do it because nobody wants to, hey, I fucked myself up here. Well, let me try to fuck myself up again and see if it's worse or not as bad using more protective equipment. So anyway, I've hurt myself more with knee braces where it's literally ripped the cartilage off the bottom of my femurs, and as opposed to just an ACL that it was supposed to help prevent. Yeah, it did prevent that, but it created a much bigger issue where it was a couple more surgeries and ended up being about 12 months recovery time for ripping that cartilage off. And then, my last one where the knee braces literally snapped my tib and fib, shattered it in 4 or 5 different places, and then it snapped my femur in 2 different places, but none of my ligaments. Well, I did tear my ACL in there too. But truth be told, what could have happened without that stuff is, I don't know, but I don't want to go back there and think that. So it's weird to think that way, that could it have been differently if Forkner didn't have knee braces on there? Truthfully, I don't know. That's a really tough one, right? Because we all know that the drunk guy that hits the wall doesn't get hurt, or not the drunk guy, but in an accident. When you see a head-on collision, usually the guy that's drunk that drifts into the other lane is the guy that kills the family. It's not he doesn't kill himself along with the family or just him. And it's because he's super loose, doesn't know what's going on, and the people are sitting there, oh my effing crap, what's going on? They're all stiff and things don't go well. Whew. Well, what do you guys think about that? Do you think knee braces help Forkner or didn't help Forkner? You guys are saying back to Feld was the crocodile and all that stuff. Okay, Taylor says that Ryan Hughes says that knee braces aren't for good positioning, but they help with hyperextension. I would agree with that. But also I would agree with knee braces are great for leverage. And what I mean by leverage is, if you guys have ever been at the gym and have tried to do one of those squats where you're just sitting down, if you try to squeeze a small ball like a tennis ball, it's incredibly difficult to hold onto that. And like, we ride our dirt bikes with our knees. We squeeze the shrouds in the middle of the motorcycle. But if you all of a sudden we're going to turn that tennis ball into like a volleyball, you could do that for a much longer period of time. And that's the biggest advantage that I think knee braces has, is that they're so much thicker. Your circumference of your knee almost doubles. And so therefore it's much easier to apply pressure to the motorcycle and do that over an extended period of time. So therefore, that's one of the main reasons why I use knee braces. And partially, if I'm being honest, I'm a little scared of being as injured as I've been in the past. And for some dumb reason, whether it's marketing or what, a price tag of $1,000 sort of brainwashes me into thinking that this is a level of protection that is going to super exceed anything else on the market, right? It's marketing manipulation is kind of what it is. You know, the scarcity principle. We want to conform, and if more people are doing it and you look at the higher price tag, you kind of correlate the two. JD says that my knee braces used to rub on my graphics every 3 rides from squeezing. Yeah, exactly. JD just proves my point completely about the knee braces. And Mark, you know, he agrees with me as well. Muffet, you're saying race drunk. Okay, funny story. I remember having my dad tell me stories about, you know, him and his buddies literally, you know, smoking dope on the gate, like sitting on there on the gate trying to help. And I was like, Dad, don't you know that weed doesn't really help you as much? And your reaction times go down, like it's statistically, chemically proven, you know, with what it does to your brain. As far as you always have somebody driving down the road and he's doing 25 in a 45, and you're just like, what the hell are you doing? This guy's got nowhere to be, you know, and you drive by and it just smells completely like dope. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. But my father told me once, and this doesn't leave this live, right? This doesn't leave this live here. You know, that's what you say in the garage. It's like, hey, this is just between us. I remember my dad saying once that he tried doing speed before a race, and he said that he never went faster in his life. You know, and I'm like, well, did you win? How do you do? He's like, I think I got like 9th because I crashed all the freaking time. But man, I was getting to that bike quickly. I was like, whoa, you know, you probably could do that all freaking all day long. Not something that I'd recommend for sure. You know, there's certain guys that, anyway, Stank Dog, I love you, man. I love you. And, love him to pieces. I got some shorts on my channel of some of his secrets to racing that, dude, I think everybody should check out for sure. But let me get back to getting out of the chat room a little bit here, and let's talk about that final round here. Okay, this is back to the Chicago. You know, and I want to know your guys' opinion on these tracks as well, because to me, they look more like Daytona than anything. The only track that really, to me, differentiates itself is this guy, right? You don't have a whoop section, and you're going up and down the stadium, which that is just super cool. I like this the most. You've got some over-unders in here and a couple big triples, one nice Supercross section, and then a couple little fast deals, but it's slow enough speed that I don't think anyone's could potentially get incredibly hurt. But then we go to one of the other playoff rounds, and to me, we all know Daytona and Atlanta, they've been incredibly fast, right? And what sort of slowed them down a little bit was having all the Supercrossy sections, and there's not as much Supercrossy sections here. The sand is going to slow you down. I do like that, and I do think sand is a good place for the SuperMotocross rounds. And it's hard for me to say SuperMotocross because potentially they're all SuperMotocross. The name is just stupid. Super duper motocross. Anyway, really the only SuperMotocross rounds are those playoffs and then the finale, but they want to call them. Anyway, it's silly. Have you ever tried to like look at Peacock and you're searching for stuff and it's named incorrectly? Like they just need to have a unification, there's that word again, of everything. When you go to search for the races on TV, is it motocross? Is it supercross? Is it SuperMotocross? Is it just SX? Is it 2023 Supercross? Like, what is it? You know, is it just Supercross 2023? I don't know how many times it takes me 10 minutes to try to find the race because it changes from week to week. Where this last at A1, one day it was SuperMotocross on Peacock, and then the next day it was 2023 Supercross. And I was confused. It's easy for me to get confused. So there's that round, and then let's go to the Charlotte round. This guy is probably the one that I have the most issues with, and I'm not trying to be negative, right? I don't want to be perceived as negative because these are going to end up being super cool, but just the back section, it looks too flat to me. And I know this is where it's at, and you got to have all the fans here to be able to watch everything, right? The majority of the track where everybody can see all the racing. It's smart. It's incredibly smart. But this back section here, right, is just, you got to double, high speed, right, over, under, and that is kind of cool. Is this going to be a joker lane? Is that we're going to have? Because going outside, that's going to be the faster line as opposed to kind of go inside, and anytime you're in the air, you're not moving forward, so we could see just completely one line deal here, and then you just have a single to single, or double single, or maybe triple back here, with flat corners. And I don't know how I feel about that. And this split start, this honestly looks like the safest of all the split starts, as opposed to the start that we just have where it got pinched off. We saw McElrath go down really hard. We saw AC almost eat shit. We saw Forkner definitely eat shit. And it was all just from that one inside. It wasn't coming from the outside of everybody. It was just that one area. Here, this is a level start. This is how it should be if they're going to do a split start like this, right? Because we talked about it in the shit show last weekend with Coach and I, and everybody was arguing. Cooksey was arguing as well that even Dakota was getting involved, where should a start be tilted or completely level, to where we all know that like the shortest distance is pretty much inside to inside, and then the farther you go, it's just simple arithmetic that, hey, this guy is at a larger angle. He's going to, by the time he gets there, he is going to cover 20 more feet of dirt. It's not as fair, right? This is partially a little bit of the liberal in me that's saying that it needs to be a little bit more fair. Yes, gate pick and everything is important, but it should be important for the ruts, not the metal gate behind. I don't like the metal gate. I think they should get rid of the metal gate, but you should have the same distance from start to first corner throughout everywhere. It shouldn't be at an angle. And the metal gate prevents the first qualifier to the third qualifier, where it doesn't really even matter because you're taking away one of the good reasons to have that good gate pick, because you got the line in front of you, the rut in front of you, but you also have the rut behind you. And sometimes when they're not directly square, then it messes up. But if you don't have that rut in the back, you could, wherever the rut is in front of the gate, you can line up completely, right? It's just taking away of some of the technique in racing that I just sort of think it's shitty. Oh, Mark says, Johnny is killing it. You're getting really good at this. Man, about damn time, right, guys? About damn time I start getting more proficient at speaking and be in the camera and being live, communicating with you guys. Man, would they ever let me do anything in Supercross? No, because I'm too unfiltered. That is okay. But we are building a community here, and this is a good time to say, hey, you know what helps out me is if you like this and maybe share it to somebody. Get a word out there. That's really how we're going to make a difference and start building that community. And hey, we are giving away a full graphics kit from Nick Designs this month. Man, I got so many windows open here. Let me go back to that screen. Giving away a full custom graphics kit with a special code that the winner is going to be chosen the last Thursday of the month of January. And how you get involved is you join the Patreon and you join the channel. Right, I've got two different ways. It's $1 to $10, depending upon however much you want to do. You don't even have to. You can just subscribe to the channel. That helps out a bunch, which a lot of you guys have been doing. So I'm very fortunate for everyone. But again, I am giving the majority of everything back from this stuff to giving back to those members, and we're building it up so that we get better and better gifts and everything to help out, because part of that whole enlightenment and journey to success is giving. You know, it's a very small portion of the pie, right, of being a good effing human being, but part of it is giving back a little bit, right? And anyway, we don't have to go too much more into philosophy, but Brennan Walsh says, oh, and Gypsy Tales. Yeah, dude, I effing love Jace. Dude, if I was to ever have a man crush, Jace would be one of it, you know, just because he's got that voice for radio. He just has that voice for radio, and he does a really good job. And there's one dude that works his effing ass off is Jace. Right? He's constantly reading. Him and I give books back and forth, and sometimes I'm like, what are you reading, dude? This shit makes no sense whatsoever. And then he'll message me back like, Johnny, I'm not going to read that. That sounds dumb as fuck. And I'm like, whatever, man. It's all good. It's all good. You know, we've got different tastes and stuff, just like in women, in bikes, whatever. That's just life. But he seems like a cool cat. And you guys should always, which I'm sure you do, check out his stuff. But he has he's good at what he does, and you see so many people copying him on his stuff. I've even copied him, especially on some of my shorts and things of that nature. I had to, there's a book that it is called, which I think everybody that is in content creation or just in life in general, it's called Stealing Like an Artist. It's an easy book to read. You know, it's got lots of pictures to it. There's even stickers and some colors. I'm kidding. There's none of that. But it's easy to read. And the biggest thing I've gotten out of it, you guys probably heard me say it, that originality is undetected plagiarism. You know, I know Racer X, Pulp, all these guys, Rotomoto, they have copied me on certain things, which is great. But truth be told, I've copied them on certain things because we can never have enough. And just because I copy somebody doesn't mean that I'm taking away from the original content. You know, I guess if I'm completely one for one, that's plagiarizing. But if I take the idea and I make it my own and I add value to it, it's a completely different entity than what it was at the beginning, right? Sorry, I paused there, and that's partially because of all my concussions. I got to think here, right? Because you're thinking, okay, do we use these filler words or do we continue to pause and think of something else? Anyway, that's really the entirety of the show that I have today. We've been on for 40 minutes. I do know I haven't been able to answer a lot of the questions in the chat room, but since I've got 110 of you right here, right now, show up tomorrow, lunchtime. It's going to be a good show. It's called The Shit Show. It's going to be episode 2. We're going to talk a lot about this stuff. I'm going to try to shut the hell up and let some of these guys talk and maybe start an argument with somebody because it'll be fun. Anyway, till next time, I want you guys to keep it WFO in everything you do, not just in your professional lives, but in your personal lives as well. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with the human being you're becoming. And yes, a little bit of foreshadowing, thinking, if I'm living the life that I am right now, here in 5 years, what is it going to look like? Am I going to be happy? Or do I feel like maybe I should be changing some things right now? And we could all be better. But the point is just be just a tad bit better than you were yesterday. Comparison is the theft of joy. You should only compare yourself to yourself. That's why you look in the mirror. This is Johnny effing Hopper. Till next time. Oh, and now is a great time to invest. Dollar cost average into solid assets. Things that you use. That's my last little tidbit. If I ever message you on Instagram as Johnny Crypto, it's not me. I'm not asking for money from anybody. Actually, I had Damon Huffman message me and be like, Johnny, what the hell is this? And I'm like, dude, completely starstruck, Damon. Don't hate me. That is not me. You know, we had a good conversation, and he might actually be an interview on here at a later time. But I digress, guys. It's always good to start investing just a little bit. I sincerely want everybody to do their own research and get involved in good projects and good companies, right? I can also, help in a certain way. We just have to ask questions. Anyway, till next time, I've said